Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 193 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Joey and Ben. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great, missing Nick, but we got playoff basketball or playing basketball more specifically coming up. Regular season is done, and I am extremely excited.
Ben, how are you feeling? I'm sure you're pumped up here for postseason basketball.
Yeah, pumped up. It's time to get into the X's and O's, all that good stuff, and to actually watch a good, meaningful basketball. No more bad basketball between teams trying to tank and all that.
That's right. It should be a lot of fun. The 2026 NBA regular season came to an end over the weekend, and the play-in tournament postseason basketball starts tonight here with some big-time matchups here today. So we're going to get into all the matchups. We're finally going to get into, as Ben said, the X's and O's, previewing and predicting all these matchups. But first off, before we get into that, we have to do our first postseason hurdle. So let's see what we can get here today. First player, Joey, who are we guessing here today?
We're gonna guess Luka Garza, the man who helps the Celtics beat the Magic on the last day of the season.
Yeah, well, we will definitely get into that a little bit as well. Let's guess him. All right. Atlantic Division and not a big. 26, 25 years old. Right off the bat, what, Tyrese Maxey?
How old is he?
He, I think, would fit that.
Yeah,
He's in his
is.
sixth year in the league.
It could be.
Let's see. This is one a lot of different players I think could fit. Like I was thinking, like RJ Barrett could fit from the Raptors. Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah, true.
Ben, what do you think? What do you want to guess here for our second player?
I think Emmanuel Quickly's played on two teams in this division.
All right, let's go for it. Emmanuel Quickly. Oh man,
Ooh.
we're getting even closer though. A really short guard.
Yes,
That is 25 years old. Maybe it looks like this might be Tyrese Maxey.
It looks like it's Tyrese Maxey because there's not many numbers lower than zero.
do it.
What?
Oh, wow.
One. Who is number one?
Who is this?
Number one or number two on the Knicks or the Nets? This looks like Deuce McBride.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Deuce.
Got him in 4.
Yeah.
Man, that's another one. Just like the last episode where like we had all the parameters, I feel like, correct here. We just couldn't get right on the money. But Deuce McBride in 4. Let us know how long it took you guys to get Miles McBride. But let's get into, before the play-in talk, the wild finish to the regular season this past Sunday, where there was still definitely a lot to be played for. Although a lot of teams sat their star players, in pursuit of the postseason to make sure that everyone was healthy and safe going into the postseason or into the offseason for all the teams that are already in Cancun. But that already led to some very interesting results to close out the season. In the Eastern Conference, the wildest result that we saw was the Orlando Magic, fully healthy, had a chance to go into Boston against the third string of the Boston Celtics, essentially the main Celtics, the G League Celtics, and get a chance to get into the top 6 of the playoffs or at least host the 7-8 play-in game versus Philadelphia. But Orlando put up a stinker of a third quarter, and they fell to Boston's third stringers 113-108. And this was just unbelievable. It shifted everything in the Eastern Conference, Joey. It shifted, of course, where the Magic and the Sixers finished. It shifted where the Raptors and the Hawks finished. Literally, the entire Eastern Conference playoff picture came down to this final game, and the Celtics third stringers pulled off the upset.
The Celtics tried to hand it to Orlando. They wanted them to just cause chaos and to see what would happen. But instead, Baylor Shireman and Luka Garza came out on top and it was. I don't even know if it's like more against or it's like good. It's great for Boston. Like, congrats, like all those guys that are going to be not even close to the rotation in the playoffs. They have the ultimate confidence. So just more confidence for a team that has been extremely hot for the last month. Or, in my opinion, it's more telling on where Orlando is right now because this is bad. This is bad.
Yeah, Ben, this was a very shocking result here. It felt like going in that the standings going into the day where Atlanta was 5, Toronto was 6, Orlando 7, Philly 8. It was just going to stay the same here, but that outcome completely changed everything. It was so bad. Orlando, they played their fully healthy team, but Desmond Bain, who has played in every game this season, played in game 82, played the first like 8 minutes or so, and then they were like, all right, Desmond Bain, congratulations, game 82. You've played all 82 games. Let's get you out and have you rested for, the next, game here. But the Celtics went on such a big run in the third quarter that they had to put him back in the game after not playing to start the second half. And the Magic end up losing here in what could be a very costly loss for them.
Yeah, that was definitely not a good night for Orlando Magic. And I noticed in the game they didn't shoot it well for free either than Jalen Suggs somehow made 7 and 19 turnovers in that game against the Celtics third stringers. Yikes. You absolutely can't have that. That can't be a habit in the playoffs, and we're playing the tournament, and just Orlando, had some times where they struggled to generate offense. They struggled with getting shots to fall at times, and I don't think they brought enough physicality to this game. Just a lack of preparation for another game by Orlando.
Yeah, just an unbelievable result here, and again, a game that could definitely cost them. We will get into their playing matchup with the Sixers coming up here, but again, if they won this game, they were going to host this 7-8 game. Now they have to go on the road to try to win and advance to the playoffs as either the 7th or 8th seed. And again, it's just been a really disappointing season for Orlando. I know we've talked about it a little bit over the last few episodes, but to be, they've had some injuries throughout the year. Mainly Franz Wagner's been in and out of the lineup all season. He just recently came back. But for the most part, everyone else has been healthy, like Suggs and Paolo and Bain playing in all 82 games. And they just have not been able to get it together. They've become a worse defensive team, basically the same offensive team as the last few years, which was about, league average. And, just a big disappointment, a year where they go all in to get Desmond Bain, trading away 4 first-round picks to end up in a position where they are going to be one of the lowest. I mean, they're a playing team. They're the 8th seed. Like, it's just a very disappointing year, and in my opinion, the most disappointing team in the league this year.
I know I said it before in the last couple episodes that I wouldn't be shocked if Jamal Mosley got fired before the playoffs. And he didn't, and I know we were talking in the pre-pod lobby, Miles, and you were saying, like, there was no reason, but, like, especially after that last game, he's got to at least have his office, like, half packed up already. Like, he knows he's out of it. Like, he has to know, especially after that last game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a general, feeling in there that he's going to be gone, after they get eliminated, unless they go on, some crazy run. You never know. But it definitely is not looking good. We'll get into their matchup with the Sixers coming up with our playing predictions. In the Western Conference, there were also still some things to be decided, and the big game to watch there was San Antonio hosting Denver for the final game of the regular season in the West. San Antonio, who had already locked up the number 2 seed, but they could have had some big incentives to try to beat Denver here, as Denver with a win would have clinched the 3 seed, and if they lost, they would have fallen down to the 4th seed, and the Lakers with their injuries to Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves would have jumped up to the 3 seed, and that's who would have been in the Spurs side of the bracket. But the Spurs decided to sit Victor Wembanyama, and Denver played Nikola Jokic for the first half, but for the most part, it was the Nuggets third stringers as well versus the Spurs, who played De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Keldon Johnson, Stephon Castle, and the Nuggets won and the Spurs lost. So now Denver does end up being the 3 seed and in the Spurs side of the bracket. So another sort of head-scratching loss here for San Antonio, who could have and I think should have gone all in to try and win this game to get that Denver Nuggets juggernaut out of their side of the bracket.
Yeah, I have to agree, Bibles. Like, he could have, still played 1B. I know. I want to be careful about him, but still could have played him a decent amount of minutes, at least give him some time. Maybe they could have won, but still, even without him, that's disappointing, because definitely, it's got to give Denver some more confidence for if, they do possibly meet in the second round. And for San Antonio, it would have been better off if it was like, the Timberwolves or the bracket on their side, as I think they would have had a better chance of, being able to advance further if that was the case.
Yeah, Joey, what are your thoughts from that result in San Antonio?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I get it, but this is also their first time going to the playoffs. They want to make sure they're as healthy as possible. Everybody else is healthy, but the one X factor is always Wemby. He is who you're going to live and die with. Regardless of how great everybody else is, if you don't have Wemby out there, and he is obviously with his frame and everything, you don't want to risk anything. You've been lucky so far, even previously when he's had injuries and complications and stuff. I don't blame them one bit for it, but I do get it. And it's more of, I think it might just be Mitch Johnson's kind of just a young coach. He didn't maybe he didn't think about it, or maybe he outweighed, he did a pros and cons list and whatever he did. But I'm with you. I would have thought he would have wanted to actually fight for that because of the matchups and stuff. I just look at it as Greg Popovich probably would have wanted to do that. Just looking back in the past Spurs coaches, he would have probably looked at every matchup. I love Mitch Johnson as a coach, but I think that was kind of a miss as well.
Yeah, and I know that people, watching this, probably even Nick watching this, is probably going to be having his hands up in the air. It's Miles, what are you talking about? You were talking about in the last few episodes how guys need to rest and make sure that they're healthy for the playoffs. But in this situation, I think it was a different thing because Denver is a championship caliber team. This is a Western Conference that has 3 for sure championship caliber teams. We got Lightning there.
Oh my gosh.
That
surprised me.
That was crazy. But this is a conference where you've got 3 championship caliber teams in there with OKC, Denver, and San Antonio. If I were the Spurs, I feel like if there was any way that I only had to play one of them and not 2 of them, that's what I would have tried to do. I even thought there was a world where Denver could have tried to punt the game as well so that they just moved down to 4 as well. Because now when you look at the playoff bracket, and of course we have our our full first round predictions coming up on the next pod, but Denver has themselves maybe the most difficult, side of the bracket that we've ever seen, as far as if they were to make it all the way to the NBA Finals out of the West, they'd have to go through Minnesota, back-to-back conference finals, most likely San Antonio, who, second best record in the league, one of the best up-and-coming players that we've ever seen, and then OKC, the defending champions. They'd have to go through all three of them in one run, and that would be crazy if they, got out of it. But, I think that shows that Denver does feel confident against San Antonio, and they should be. I think something that's going to be wild to think about here, and something that'll come up, if these two teams do meet in the playoffs, is that San Antonio, since February 1st, only lost 4 games the rest of the season. They went 30-4 the final 34 games of the season. 3 of the 4 losses were to Denver. So that might be something to watch for that. I'm sure Spurs fans are not looking forward to that potential being the second round matchup.
There is always a confidence thing. I know us as Cavs fans, we looked at it last year, those last couple games against the Pacers where we kind of just mailed it in, and then all of a sudden we get destroyed by the Pacers. Not saying like that was completely, but like confidence does do crazy things for people, especially when it's the playoffs and everything is on the line. They got to build up whatever else juice they got left, and usually that leftover confidence is just the cherry on top that a lot of teams need.
Yeah, so I guess final thing before we move on to the play-in preview, I'll pose the question to you guys with these 2 kind of inexplicable losses here on the final day of the regular season. Ben, which loss do you think was worse for their respective team? Orlando losing to the third string of Boston, or the Spurs losing to Denver when they had a chance to push them out of their side of the playoff bracket?
It's got to be the Orlando one for me. Like, that was just rough. That was just embarrassing for Orlando. Like, that Bedford quarter, you got to come out of the locker room better than that. Just the lack of preparedness. Just a messy game at times for them. And now, you would have rather have at least gotten, a chance at like home court 2 times possibly to at least get in the playoffs. But now, it just makes your path tougher in the play, and you have to go to Philadelphia to start, and that helps Philadelphia now have a home court advantage instead of you having it against them.
Completely agree. It's Orlando by a long shot. Like you said, it's more of like some in the other instance, like Denver winning that game was almost more troubling for them than San Antonio like losing. Like it's more trouble for them, you would think. But yeah, Orlando, they controlled their own fate. They had everyone healthy, and Boston sat everybody. And the trio of Shireman, Garza, and Harper Jr. outplayed Banchero, Suggs, and Wagner. That is just something that cannot happen.
No, anytime you give up a 30-8 run to this, and that's what happened in the third quarter, that's just not gonna. Maybe that's why lightning is happening in Joey's background, because Mother Nature's not happy with the Orlando Magic right now either.
Mother Nature hasn't been kind to anybody this year.
Yeah, especially to the Run on the Pain podcast. So hopefully Joey sticks with us here for the rest of this podcast. But man, well, that's it for the regular season, man. What an incredible finish to the regular season we had. But now it's time to talk postseason basketball with the 2026 NBA play-in tournament. Another year where we have this format. It's been a great success over the last few seasons. I believe this is the 5th or 6th year of them doing this format where, we'll take a look, both conferences 7 through 10 get a chance to make the playoffs. 7 and 8 play each other. 9 and 10 play each other. In the 7-8 game, whoever wins gets the 7 seed to play the 2 seed. Whoever loses gets to play the winner of the 9-10 game, and then that winner moves on to be the 8th seed, and then obviously the loser is eliminated. So let's get started here. We're going to start off with the Western Conference with the 7-8 game in the West. That is tipping off here tonight, the nightcap tonight, 10 p.m. on Prime Video, the 7-8 game between the Portland Trail Blazers and the Phoenix Suns. What a matchup that we have here in the play-in. Just the fact that, heading into the season, I'm not sure how many people would have had these two teams, either of them being in this position. But these two teams overachieved, surprised, and both of them have a legit chance to make the playoffs.
I know I absolutely love it. Like, I did not pick. I expected the Portland Trailblazers to be like maybe a 9 or 10 seed, but to be in the 7-8 spot, and all you have to do is win one game and you're in. That's all you got to do. The Stars, Denny Avdia, Donovan Clint, all those guys just play together. Even after the troubling start of their coaches, what is he still technically an interim coach, Tiago Splitter, because Chauncey Billups is out? Like,
Yeah, that's a
great
point.
Like, they did all that was the start of the season. Their coach got arrested.
Game one.
Game one. Like, they overcame all of that. And now they are here. So huge props. And I certainly didn't have Phoenix being close after the stinker of the last couple years. And I'm like, I knew we all liked Jordan Ott from as Cavs fans, but I didn't think he was going to pull a miracle and get all of these guys playing together and playing really, really well.
Yeah, for sure, Ben. A big moment for these two teams, but I'd say specifically for Portland, this is their first postseason game in 5 years, 2021. It's been they've been rebuilding the last few years since they, trade away Damian Lillard. He obviously came back in the offseason, but building up a bunch of young talent this season. They're able to break through here. Denny Avdia, first-time All-Star candidate for Most Improved Player, and the leader on a very scrappy defensive team here in Portland, who gets to go up against a similar team here in Phoenix who improved this year because of their scrappy defense.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see both of these teams playing scrappy, as I expect. Like, Dylan Brooks back in the postseason, he's going to be ready to go, ready to be scrappy. That'll be fun. And for Trailblazers, they'll need, Kamara and, to be like Halliday, and they're good, young guys to be scrappy on that end still. And yeah, it should be a good game. And saw Jalen Green's available for the Suns for this game along with Devin Booker. So I'm going to be curious to see, how the young Trailblazers guys can do. See if they can do anything good to help slow down Booker and Green, who do have some postseason experience already.
Yeah, Joey, it's a very intriguing matchup because you have this Portland team that has solid to elite defenders all across the board, from the perimeter all the way to the rim, with Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams off the bench, against this Suns team that is led by tough shot makers with Devin Booker, Jalen Green, and this year Dillon Brooks, who, all three have, been very, very good this season. What stands out to you with this matchup between the Blazers and the Suns?
Exactly what you said. The similarity of these two teams, like completely. Like I know I was just saying, we were just saying, like, both of these teams were not good last year, and they completely improved, even outperformed what anybody else had expectations of them. Maybe outside of, like, inside their own locker room, but they overperformed. They were fantastic, and it's the scrappy defense that both teams just, like, I know you said, like, Portland's got all these elite defenders. Like, I expect that team to be really tough defensively. This Suns team, like, they got all these clutch guys, but led by Dillon Brooks and that scrappy defense. It's just going to be such a fun, hard-nosed game. Like, I always think of, when I'm talking about hard-nosed, I'm thinking, like, hard-nosed football, pads on pad. Like, that's what I expect out of this kind of match, out of this playing game. I expect like a boxing match, almost, like one jab, two jab, like everything is just going on.
Yeah, Ben, getting into, the bit of the strategy here, what do you think is going to be the biggest difference here for the, in this game for one of these teams to pull it out and get the win?
Well, I think for Portland, like, Denny could be good as his usual self, putting up some good offensive numbers passively. But a big key for Portland is I'm they're going to need other guys outside of Denny to step up and get some scoring going on that offensive end to put up some points if they want any good chance of being able to win. Like Shaden Sharp did just return it, as I saw for Portland. Wonder if he'll be able to get it going. They'll need to see if he can. They'll be counting on him, and they got, Donovan Clingan. He needs to step up big with hopefully good rebounding and good, interior presence. Be able to get the baskets down low. Trying to find good mismatches potentially on offense, and that's my main key for Portland. It's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, they're going to need to find other guys that can put the ball in the basket. And Joey, if not, they're going to need to just muck the game up and make it as ugly as possible here and try to just force those perimeter guards for Phoenix into taking tough shots, probably most likely from mid-range. You got to hope that you force them into contested mid-rangers and just that they don't go in.
That's my keys to the game for if you're Portland is muck up the game as much as possible because, like Ben said, this Suns team is full of playoff experience. Not just talking about Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks that came over from a 2 seed last year. You're talking Devin Booker, who was still on the Suns team that went to the NBA Finals. Like, these guys know what happens and what it means to be clutch. So you really need to muck up this game as much as possible, make it about you. And I'll be honest, I'm looking at Donovan Clingan to take full advantage because, in my opinion, he could really solidify himself as maybe the second or third best player in the game, like in these games, like over Denny. To be honest, I think it would be Devin Booker, and then at some point, like I think Clingan, even with him this year, especially able to stretch out and like shoot the 3 ball. I know it's at a 34% clip, but you don't expect that out of him, who in college that just wasn't how it was. Last year that's not how it was, and now all of a sudden he's putting up 3 threes a game at least, or at least attempting. So, and having Mark Williams, who I like,
he's not a shooter.
But he is not a shooter. You want to get him out of the paint because then you have a clear advantage for Denny Advia who is an aggressive guy and who likes to take it to the paint and get some easy shots because he has such a big size advantage when he's carrying the ball. So I think Clingan could be a huge X factor for Portland.
Yeah, the 3-point line is going to be something to watch in this game because these are two teams that were actually both top 5 teams in the league this year in attempting threes. Only difference is Phoenix is 12th in the league in percentage. Portland is 3rd worst. So they get up a lot of threes, but Portland doesn't make them at a high clip, about 34%, which is, 3rd worst in the league. So they're going to need their guys to, at least keep pace with the Suns because, Ben, the Suns do have, I mentioned the mid-range scoring, but they have a lot of 3-point shooters on their team as well with Royce O'Neal, Colin Gillespie, if Grayson Allen's good to go. Like, they have a lot of shooters on their team. So Portland is going to need to find someone on their team to give them a spark from the perimeter and, also try to make sure that maybe for Phoenix, it's only one guy going off from 3 and not like 2 or 3 different players.
Right. I agree. That should be a big key for Portland's defensive plan. And I'm excited to see what could happen there. And I think Dylan Brooks could be a big X factor too in this game. Like if he really gets disruptive and makes steals and make things difficult on Portland, that could cause Portland to have a difficult night of that game. But excited to see what can happen.
Yeah, so Ben, you say Dylan Brooks, Joe, you got Donovan Clingan for X factors. I'd say for me, the biggest X factor going into the game is Drew Holiday for Portland. because he has had a very good year for the Trailblazers. It's been low key because it is, you know, Portland, and Denny Obvious had such a great year. But Drew Holiday is still capable of having big games, and he's going to be the first guy that gets a crack at guarding Devin Booker, who he has experience against in that NBA Finals. You mentioned, Joey. Drew Holiday was the one guarding Devin Booker, forced him to struggle in those games. Team USA teammates, and they've been battling for a long time in the league. So if he can negate Devin Booker's offense and also maybe knock down some threes, make plays for Klingon, down low, Kamara on the perimeter, you know, I think that's going to open up things a lot for Portland. Portland just has a lot of weapons as well, but they're kind of all wild cards. You mentioned Ben Shaden Sharp is returned. He's played in 2 games. He'd missed like 30 games with left fibula stress reaction. So we'll see how much burn he gets from Tiago Splitter. Scoot Henderson's going to be in the starting lineup most likely for that extended run. You know, should be a great matchup. As far as predictions, I'm not going to lie. This game is the toughest one for me to pick. I have no idea who actually has the advantage. And as we're talking, I feel like we kind of have the same feeling because these are 2 very, you know, evenly balanced teams.
I completely agree. Honestly, I still it might come down to just a coin flip. Like, this is when you're talking about the similarities. Like, we're talking about the pros, like what Portland has to do. It's kind of the same thing. You let, like, even though Portland doesn't shoot it well, if they start going, it's almost over because they never shoot it that well. And if they're shooting it well, they can do so many other things as well, and it's just going to be too tough. Like, they're such similar and such well-coached team. Like, they're just fun teams to watch. Like, I'm so excited for this game. If I have to make a prediction, though, I'm probably going to go Phoenix. I think I'm going to pick the Phoenix Suns just because I'm thinking of the cons that you were saying, like what Portland needs to do, force them away from the 3-point line. And unfortunately, Devin Booker is still one of the best mid-range shooters. So, like, oh no, you're going to let that man shoot mid-ranges all game? Not the end of the world. I think Phoenix just has too many shooters, too many ballers. I think they pull it out.
Ben, who do you got in this one?
I have Phoenix as well because I think Phoenix has a bit more of the experience. Somehow sort of forgot about Drew Holiday's experience. Well, that helps Portland at least. It's at least one guy with good experience there, and I like him as an X factor, as Miles said. And I think Phoenix just being the better shooting team is gonna help, and they're just gonna get better scoring punches from guys, you know, outside their star Devin Booker.
Yeah, I want to pick Portland as well, but I think I'm going to go with Phoenix as well because I do agree with you guys. I think they have more guys that have been in this situation before. You know, they have more guys that are aware of the moment. Now, some of them have not performed well in, you know, this level of moments before, but I think that against a Portland team that does have a lot of inexperience for most of these players, this is their first postseason action of their careers. You know, even Denny, he's played in 1 series before, but now he's the #1 guy. Like, I think there's a lot going Phoenix's way, and honestly, they've been the 7th seed the whole season. I think that, you know, it'd be kind of funny if they didn't end up being the 7th seed in the playoffs, but I do think they will pull it out. I think it will be close. I think that the one number to watch for throughout the game is, you know, if they are shooting better from 3 than Portland. I think if they make more threes, they should be good in this game. But Portland is very scrappy, and I know all of us, we're not, even though all 3 of us are picking Phoenix, none of us are writing out the Trailblazers. They could certainly pull it off.
I'm low-key even hoping. I'm hoping I'm kind of wrong because I do love watching this Portland team. They're really fun to watch. They're a good young team that I just kind of love rooting for.
Yeah, so reminder, Portland at Phoenix tonight at 10 p.m. on Prime Video, the 7-8 game. The winner advances to play Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs in the first round. The loser will have to play the winner of this next game, the 9-10 game, between the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Clippers. This will be on Wednesday, 10 p.m. on Prime Video. Kind of, interesting seasons for these two. Of course, the Clippers, it obviously started off horrible. Crazy to think that this season, Chris Paul, James Harden, and Bradley Beal were all on the same team. To start the season, they were all in the Clippers. Of course, they go in a different direction here after the terrible start. They make some big trades, but they become the first team in NBA history, I believe. I think I saw the stat to go from being 15 games below 500 to finishing the season above 500. So a huge accomplishment for the Clippers for pulling that off and getting to, the 8th seed or the 9th seed and being a playing team. And then of course, Golden State, they had the, long stretch where Steph Curry was out. So they've just been trying to hold the fort until he returns, which he has a couple weeks ago. And now it sets up for this winner go home game. The loser is eliminated. The winner, advances to, have another chance here. Ben, where do you want to start off with the Warriors and the Clippers?
Well, these are two teams that, have had some tough downs during the year. And what I'm thinking is my biggest key to the game is, well, Kawhi Leonard and Steph, they've been in so many of these moments. I know they're going to be ready to go and could possibly put on big scoring moments, but I think this game could come down to, those second, third option scorers who's scoring the best out of them. And I do like the Clippers' second and third scoring options, for this game, and Garland and, Ben Mathurin off the bench. He played great on Sunday when they did play the Warriors, and the Clippers somehow beat the Warriors with Steph in the lineup on a minutes restriction in that game, but still with no Kawhi Leonard, which is impressive. And thing I got to bring up from that is, I'm sure that's going to give the Clippers some confidence going into this game.
Completely agree. We've talked about it with a lot of these teams today. Confidence is key. Clippers getting that little extra boost is going to be huge. What's the injury report like? Because both these teams have been completely riddled with injuries all year, even as of late. So I feel like that's kind of what this game comes down to. Who's healthy, who's not, who's feeling the best, who's not. Because if Steph Curry feels like he's the best player on the planet, he's going to play like he's the best player on the planet. And you can't write off the Golden State Warriors because he can play like he's the best player on the planet. However, if he's not, and you got Kawhi and DG feeling really good, that's a really hard team to stop, especially ever since Darius Garland and Kawhi have been healthy ever since the trade. They've been a really, really good team.
Yeah, I think that both teams are as healthy as they can be going into the game. Like, obviously, the Warriors, the Butler and Moody, they've been, out for the season. They've been out for a while, but Steph will be good to go. Kawhi will be good to go. Like, they'll be as healthy as they can be at this point of the season. And the Stars are going to be, good to go for this matchup for the most part, besides, Jimmy Butler. Ben, I think what you said about the Clippers having Garland and Mathurin as the 2-3 options, I think that's so important for this game, because I think you're right. I think Steph and Kawhi should theoretically cancel each other out. Steph may explode a little bit more because he knows the Clippers have more secondary scoring options, but the Warriors do have those wild card guys as well. I know Kristaps Porzingis is going to be a big wild card in this game for them. They've given the ball to other guys, hands like Podziemski, D'Anthony Melton throughout the season. We'll see Draymond Green, obviously always an X factor for that team. But I do think that the Clippers having Garland and Mathurin as the second and third guys in this particular matchup is very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pajensky, he's got to step it up in this one. And let's see, like another guy who could be an X factor, maybe could be Draymond Green if he's somehow playing and is fired up and he has a good defense, sort of like, Dylan Brooks with the Suns. He somehow is just fired up for this postseason, and he just somehow started to feel it with his defense, and does a good rebounding and assisting. Could help the Warriors maybe if he could somehow step it up there again with that.
Yeah, I think Draymond might be the X factor because he's going to be the guy guarding Kawhi Leonard in this game. And of course, Kawhi has had a career year at age 34. We'll say it again. He's had an unbelievable year. Draymond is the one guy on the Warriors that will have the best chance of making things at least difficult for Leonard in this game. Something that I really like about this matchup, Joey, is just the battles at the point guard, power forward, and center positions where you have Curry and Garland at the point. They won't be matched up against each other, but they're two players that can play similarly. Like obviously Curry's way better, but they're both shifty guards that have limitless range and can get to the paint and help their teammates get better. Green and Leonard, former defensive player of the year's first ballot Hall of Famers, matching up again. And then even at the 5 spot, you have Brook Lopez and Kristaps Porzingis, who are both stretch fives that can block shots and make a big difference. So lots of similarities on these sides.
Very true. Very true. I'll be honest, I didn't even think about that, but that is extremely true. I'm very excited to, obviously, I think the one I'm watching is the point guard matchup, though. I'm sorry. Like, I still have love for DG, the PG, as a Cavs fan. I truly hope he does great things out in LA, and taking down Steph as a Cavs fan, it feels great still. So that would be just one more nail in the coffin in his Cleveland legacy, even though he's a part of LA. But regardless, like you said, like Steph is literally the guy that Garland is. You can clearly watch in his play that he's modeled his game after. A lot of his shots almost look like he's just kind of throwing it up there. He's got great handles. He's a huge playmaker, great passer, and a great finisher. Like they're both extremely kind of the same type of guy. But I'll probably have to give the edge to DG just because I know Steph is Steph.
Well, as a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, Garland isn't better than Steph at this point.
No. But like at least in this game. Maybe. Yeah, sorry. Don't. I will not ever probably compare DG, the PG, to Steph Curry. Like in overall point guard play. Like that would be crazy.
But Garland is definitely a guy to watch in this matchup as well, because since the trade from Cleveland to the Clippers, he started off on fire. His first 13 games with the Clippers, he averaged 21.7 assists, shooting 51% from the field and from three. So he was on fire, but he is definitely cooled back down to earth over the last 6 games, averaging just 17 points and 5 assists, 39% from the field, and 26% from three. So he has not played well offensively the last 6 games. So they are going to need to have a big game for Garland because he is someone that the Warriors don't really have a matchup for on the perimeter. So with Leonard being guarded by Draymond Green and Garland being a clear, obviously all-star caliber player at the point guard position, he needs to provide that secondary scoring option for Kawhi Leonard. He needs to have a big game, and Benedict Mathurin needs to have a big impact off the bench at home for the Clippers as well.
Completely agree.
But with the firepower that the Clippers have, just compared to the Warriors with the injuries that they have, probably favor the Clippers in this one. Joe, you're nodding your head. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm predicting the Clippers to take this one. because I think the Clippers are still a more complete team, and they've been more consistent with winning as of recent than the Golden State Warriors. And I think the Clippers match up good against this team. So I like them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, I am very excited to see how the Warriors do come out in this game, though. Mainly Steph Curry and Draymond Green, kind of like you said, Ben, to see how their energy level is in this game. Because for those two guys, I know you could say the same thing for Kawhi as well, but for those two guys, Steph and Draymond, who have been a part of this Warriors dynasty, team for a long time here, it's not a guarantee that they're going to have many more postseason opportunities here. So they're back here. They have a chance. They have a slim chance, we're saying, in this matchup in this year, but they do have a chance. It's Steph Curry in a postseason winner go home scenario. Can never count them out. And I think they are going to come out with a lot of force and a lot of energy, but we'll see. I mean, who knows? This could be the final game of Steve Kerr as the Warriors head coach, because he's up for a contract after the season, and we don't know what his plans are going to be. So this could definitely be the more of the end of an era here in the play-in tournament, but should be a lot of fun. The three of us have the Clippers.
Yeah, well, if Steve Kerr wants a young, promising team to go to, I heard there's a team in Central Florida that might be looking for a new coach this offseason.
Yeah, definitely could be possible. Let's go over to the Eastern Conference, and we'll talk about that team in Central Florida. Of course, we mentioned the Magic, the 8th seed after losing that game to Boston on Sunday, now have to go to Philadelphia to take on the 7th-seeded 76ers. That will be Wednesday, 7:30 on Prime Video. This game, of course, the Sixers most likely without Joel Embiid with the appendectomy, listed as a game time decision for the game. I'd be shocked if he played. I feel like he just got diagnosed with the injury. So most likely Sixers are going to be without Joel Embiid. Orlando should go in fully healthy. These two teams have had their ups and downs this season. Of course, that's why they're in this spot. That's typically what happens when you're in this position. They both have the same record, 45 and 37. Joey, where do you want to start off with this matchup?
I really want to start with Orlando because I know we've been bad-mouthing them, but they really do have the talent to make it far in the playoffs if they just put it all together. Like, this is a good team. This is a deep team. They are at least 8 to 10 deep, I would say, that they're solid at, that could help them win the games and compete. Obviously in the playoffs you really just want a 7 to 8 man rotation, but that 8-man rotation is really good, I would say, compares really well against a lot of teams. This is your time to prove it, and Jamal Mosley, this is your time to save your job. If you have any chance of saving your job, you gotta win this game. You gotta win this game, not the second game. That if you lose this game, oh well, at least we have a second chance, and that we're at home. No, you gotta win this game. You win this game, your team has the confidence back, and then you can go in against the second-seeded Boston Celtics and probably lose to the third-teamers again. I don't know. I'm sorry. I lost the train. The train derailed.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Ben, with the way Orlando, has played all season, but particularly that Sunday game, it obviously doesn't make anyone feel good about their chances in this game against the Sixers. But like Joey said, they do have the talent in one game to try to put it together. So, Ben, what do the Magic need to do to try to get this done on Wednesday?
Well, they got to get back to playing good physical defense like we've seen before. They've been more consistent with that this year, and for just one game, it has to come together consistently. Jamal Mosley has to get his team fired up to do that, and he's taken some accountability before. That's what I heard him say after that bad Raptors loss they had. So you better get the guys motivated for that. And Orlando also has to step it up offensively too Philadelphia has a good firepower that they're going to have to keep up with Tyrese Maxey is up there, is one of the leading scorers in the league this year. You got to find a way to keep up with him. And Paul George is back and has played well. VJ Epcombe could be explosive, so Orlando's got to play physical. They got to be fast to be able to somehow keep up with Philadelphia.
Yeah, no question about it. And I do think that they can do it. I think what this is going to come down to is just Paolo Banchero. He is someone, of course, former #1 overall pick that has been really good over the last few years. His numbers look all right, pretty good this year. I mean, they're all-star caliber numbers, but when you watch him play, he just has some stinker games where he's not being efficient. He's turning the ball over. And, I mean, we even saw that in the game Sunday. Like, you look at the counting stats. Oh, he had a triple-double, 23, 10, and 11. But then you see 6 turnovers, 7 for 22 from the field. Didn't make a 3. And it's like the leadership both on and off the floor just doesn't seem to be there. And you wonder, Joey, if this is a situation where we've mentioned how up and down it's been for them this year, how it kind of feels inevitable that Jamal Mosley's going to get canned whenever they get eliminated. Are the Magic going to come in here and try to take advantage of this opportunity, or are they just ready to go to Disney World and Universal Studios for the summer and you pack it up?
Again, it kind of depends on how the players feel, because they started off obviously with Jamal Mosley taking them from nothing to, and obviously with the help of Paolo, Franz, and Chisala, like this whole team has grown together over the last 3 or 4 seasons. And you would think after the start, like they took Cleveland to 7 games in their first ever playoff series, and we're like, oh man, this is a team competing for the finals or the conference finals in the next couple of years, guaranteed. And here we are a couple of years later, and they're in a play-in spot and not hosting it. It really comes down to that, because if they want Jamal Mosley to stay, they're going to play their hearts out like they did back then, and they're going to listen to his game plan, because it can't be that bad. He can't be that bad of a coach if he got him this far and got them to where they can and do have these expectations. But they got to play it, because, like you said, they have the potential, and it's like especially with Paolo, but like it kind of goes for all of them. Like Suggs had a decent game, but he's also had some stinkers. Franz was okay. He still scored 20 points, but obviously with his injury this year, and he's had some stinkers. And like all these guys, Desmond, like all these guys have the potential, but they just need to put it together for one game. It really just comes down to all of them. Like they all just have to lock in, really.
Yeah, on the Sixers side of things, what needs to go their way in this game without Joel Embiid to get this win and advance to the playoffs, Ben?
Well, can't wait for Tyrese Maxey to be leading the show in a meaningful postseason game, and he's gonna have to go off, have a big game. He's gotta, attack that basket, draw fouls, and also get his teammates involved. Like, I would say Paul George could potentially be an X factor in this game, as it could come down to this game how Paul George is feeling, how he's able to step in like Paul George, could somehow have a big offensive game, like a vintage.
Turn back the clock.
They would have a good shot at winning, but if not, he has one of those games where he struggles somewhat at times, then it could be difficult for the 76ers to win.
Yeah, I think it comes down to those wing players, Joey, here. I think Maxey has been so consistent for the most part. I think he's going to have a very good game, regardless of the Magic, perimeter defense that they have. I think it comes down to their, some of their wing players. Of course, Paul George is a big X factor, especially because he is still capable of having big games. He's had a big time bounce back year this year compared to last year. But I'm also looking at the rookie VJ Edgecombe to have a big game, because although the Magic are, they're still, a young team that does have, athletic defenders, I don't know if they have anyone that can match Edgecombe athletically and what he can do for them.
I completely agree. To me, he's the X factor of the game, because the Sixers can easily blow out this Orlando Magic team, who seems like we've been talking about all freaking day, that they're in the mud. Their confidence is shot. They don't know what's going on. Their coach is on the way out. Like, they're a dysfunctional team right now. You have to take advantage of it, and VJ Edgecombe can do that. If we're talking like Orlando is going to lock in, like I said, they need to do, Jalen Suggs is a great defender. He is going to be on Maxey. He is going to make his life hell. VJ Edgecombe, like you said, there is nobody outside of Jalen Suggs, in my opinion, but he's already on Maxey. There is nobody on that team that can probably match athletically the talent of VJ Edgecombe. Like, he could just completely just shock everybody, honestly. Like, if Tyrese Maxey's going off, or is even getting – if he's going off, VJ Edgecombe's probably going to go off. If he's getting stalled, VJ needs to go off, kind of just to completely take over. That's what they kind of need. Is even though Paul George can, like you said, he can come out and do what he's going to do, and he's been really good even since he came back from his suspension. You need VJ Edgecombe to just put that nail in the coffin, because Orlando will make this like a tough game.
Yeah, they should, if they come out with that energy. And again, I think it starts with Paolo Banchero in this game. I mean, that's the number one thing I think to watch for in this game, is how is Paolo Banchero leading his team, both, on the floor, off the floor, on both ends of the floor, because we're talking about how there's no one that could match VJ Edgecombe athletically. There's no one on the Sixers that can match Paolo physically. He should have a huge game scoring and getting his teammates involved, but he has to be the one to do it. He needs to have a big game for them to, have a chance and make us forget about the Sunday game. If they win this game, well, of course, they'd advance to play Boston. But for a brief second, we would forget about what happened Sunday, because they were able to put it together and win a game in a tough environment. So that's what we have to see from Paolo Banchero. I'm excited for the Sixers to have postseason basketball back. It was a little weird not having it, in Philly last year, them, obviously missing out here. So I know they're super excited. They're wearing their black throwback jerseys for every home game they have in this postseason. So it should be a lot of fun. Who do you guys think is going to win this and advance to play Boston?
So this one is actually, for me, the toughest of these playing games we have set to pick. It's going a bit back and forth. These teams play at, different kinds of styles. That's what made it difficult for me, but I'm going with the 76ers. I'm leading them. Part of it is they're at home, which helps. Home court advantage, always helps. And it's hard to trust the Magic with how they've been playing recently. That's another part of it. And I think the 76ers, playing at a fast pace, and Tyrese Maxey have a big game, while also believing, one of the X factors of the 76ers we talked about, VJ Edgecombe and Paul George, could step it up, could do well. It's helped me pick the 76ers to win.
Yeah, I'll probably go the Sixers as well. I don't trust the Orlando Magic.
It's hard to. It's hard to right now.
It's almost impossible, because you don't know what you're getting. You have all the talent, but that's good on paper. What we're seeing with our eyes is a completely different story.
Yeah, and of course, with the Sixers without Joel Embiid, it's not like we know for sure what we're going to get out of them either. But I think that I would expect them to have a more focused mindset to try and get the job done and get to the playoffs where maybe Joel Embiid can come back in the first one. Like, I feel like they have something to play for in that situation. I'm a little worried that the Magic are ready for Cancun already. So for that reason, I'm also going to go with the Sixers. I'd love to go with the Magic. And, if I had to make a prediction, I do think the Magic will come out with the energy necessary. But if the Sixers throw out one or two punches in the first, second quarter, that might be it, in this game.
Yep, completely agree.
Now to the 9-10 game where we've got the Miami Heat at the Charlotte Hornets. This game is the first game of the play-in tournament tonight, 7:30 on Prime Video. And my goodness, what a year it's been for the Charlotte Hornets. Second half of the season, actually have the second best net rating in the entire NBA after January 1st. Only the Spurs had a better net rating. It only got the Hornets, though, up to the 9th seed. They've been playing great basketball, mainly offensively. They've been getting it done defensively as well. And with the way they played, they get to host a postseason game for the first time in 10 years. Actually, that game against the Miami Heat, where Dwayne Wade shut up the purple shirt guy in the playoffs. But just incredible. The Heat falling down to the 10th seed. They've had their defensive struggles recently. Here, loser is eliminated from, their season is over. The winner advances to play the loser of the Magic Sixers game. Joey, where do you want to start off with Miami and Charlotte?
Oh, I don't really want to talk about Miami at all because they've just been disappointing this year. But they've also just had kind of a rough year ever since. It's just been all over injuries and stuff. Terry Rozier, that whole cloud hanging over their head this entire season. It's just not been a good year for Miami, and I feel bad. The one thing you have to hang your hat on is Jaime Jaquez is back, and Bam Adebayo had the 83-point game this year. That's kind of really, I think, all you could really take away from the regular season, because this just doesn't look to me like an Eric Spoelstra team that I've seen in the past. I know they played well last year in the play-in, and then they got completely smoked by Cleveland. That's kind of how I've looked at this team ever since that series. They just don't look right.
So you mentioned Terry Rozier, Joey. I don't remember which podcast said it, but it was one of the Bill Simmons or Zach Lowe, one of those podcasts. But they said that the loser of this game should have to take Terry Rozier's salary back. These are the three teams that did the trade. But no, Ben, of course, the Heat, it has been a very weird year for them. It started off, they were playing pretty well. They were playing super fast offensively, but it seemed to take away their defense, and they have just been giving up 120 plus points, seems like, on a regular basis here. And now they go up against a Hornets team that should not be a 9th seed, that, is the 9th seed, just with the way the standings worked out.
Yeah. Props to the Hornets. I've been impressed with them this year. And the Heat do have the more postseason advantage going into this game, which helps Miami a bit, I think. And it's a bit of a tricky game to figure out because, you never know what the Heat totally still, even though they have not looked the best recently, especially on defense, like we just mentioned. And something I will look out for in this game is, will the Heat, turn it up? Will they go back to playing some good defense? Will they guard the 3-point line well with LaMelo Ball and Knipple both shooting it impressively well for free to try to limit them somehow in this game?
Yeah, you met LaMelo and Knipple, who both led the league in threes made, which I could not believe that those were 1 and 2 by 1 3.
1 3.
1 3 was there. 272 for Con, 271 for LaMelo. Yeah, I mean, you're right. The Heat do. I mean, the Heat are always a team that you think, especially led by Eric Spoelstra. It's like, okay, they have the history, they have Heat culture. Maybe there's a chance. They made the playoffs as a 10th seed last year, but to me, Joey, it just feels like on this team, everyone feels deflated, including Eric Spoelstra, because it feels like even with these games where they're giving up a ton of points, there's just they don't have an answer for how to combat this problem.
No, they don't. They, like you said, they look flat. They look deflated. They look like disinterested. They even I know our boy Nick, his favorite player Norman Powell. He got moved to the bench a couple of times because he's been playing not as well. Like even their all star like that. This I don't know how much of a chance I give them. I again, like you said, Heat culture and everything, but I don't know if they have the fight in them this time.
Yeah, I would agree. I and the Hornets have just been playing so well. I'm rooting for the Hornets to make the playoff. Out of these four teams, I am absolutely rooting for the Hornets to make it because they absolutely deserve it. And I'm expecting a dominant performance from Charlotte. And unfortunately, I'm not really expecting a whole lot of resistance from the Heat in this game.
No, not at all. If I would have to have any X factor, even though I do, like you said, I think it's kind of going to be a blowout because I think Miami's just going to let a couple of those guys go on fire because they got a lot of those guys that can just get on fire and then it's you're done. You're completely done. But might be a weird one, but Moussa Diabate is probably my X factor because his offensive rebounding like whatever shots they do, Charlotte does happen to miss, he has a good chance of getting that offensive rebounding or the offensive rebound and then kicking it back out and those guys just hitting another three.
No, correct. And then on the Heat side, I feel like they're one of the biggest ways that they'll have a chance in this game is using their big front court of Bam and Kel'el Ware, especially if they start together, because it's a clear advantage size-wise. So they need to try to take advantage of that, get a whole lot of rebounds, get out in transition and finish, and just try to make things tough for the Hornets to get into the paint and not allow them to spray out and make a bunch of threes. I mean, I think Bam and Kel'el Ware, they need to be huge on both ends of the floor. Obviously, one of the perimeter guys like Hero or Norman Powell, Andrew Wiggins, they need to have a big offensive game. But for the Hornets, I mean, they just have more guys that have it going. And this starting lineup for the Hornets that they've been rocking out with, this incredibly, young starting lineup, Ball, Miller, Knipple, Bridges, and Diabate, is 31-9 this season. Like, absolutely dominant this season. So I think they are going to roll the doors off Miami, and they will get to just go to South Beach. They could just drive down there and immediately into Cancun for them as well.
Well, not necessarily. They do also will probably have to play that other Floridian team in Orlando and then knock them also to Cancun. But that's looking too far in the future, I guess.
Well, who, the Heat? No, if the Heat lose, they're done. They're out of here.
No, I'm saying if the Hornets win, they got to play the next Florida team. They got to play the Orlando Magic.
Dude, that actually would be crazy if Charlotte was just the Florida Killers.
But I know it might be looking too far into the future, but man, I am really looking forward to a Detroit and Charlotte Hornets first round playoff series.
It certainly is possible. Well, of course, we still have to see what happens in all these games to figure out those matchups. But Ben, what do you think? You going Hornets as well?
Yes, I'm picking the Charlotte Hornets because I think Charlotte on offense will just elevate them to winning this game. I think they could be the even more motivated team still, if I guess, but I still have to think about it a little bit because I've seen the Heat surprise us before, and
yes, we have.
You never know. And Coach Spo is still a great coach, but it's been a hard year for him with this group. Like, I agree with what you guys were saying on him. He said some struggles with trying to figure it out with this group, but it'll be a fun one, maybe a close game. We'll see.
I think absolutely. I think the last two things I'll say with this one is I'm excited to see what Con Knippel does in this game because, you know, when in the last episode of our award show, we all had him as the unanimous rookie of the year, you know, on our panel. But he has had a little bit of a cold stretch over, you know, the last couple months, his first real cold stretch shooting the ball as of late. And weird, you know, quirk in the, you know, voting this year for the awards because the NBA and voters are waiting for Luka Doncic to appeal to try to get the 65 games in. The voters aren't going to get their ballots until this Friday after this game. So if anyone swayed back to Cooper Flagg here, Con Knippel gets one last chance on national TV to have a big game here and try to sway voters. I think that's something to watch for here. Technically, the game shouldn't matter for voters, but it's human nature. It certainly could in this one. So watch for that. And then for the Heat, want to give a shout out to their PA announcer, Michael Biamonte, who is retiring. He just most likely called his final game on Sunday. Their announcer for the last 35 years. I mean, he has been the voice of the Heat, the dos minutos for all their runs.
Yeah.
So certainly going to be weird not hearing him at Heat games, and congrats on a terrific career.
100%. You would hear that in 2K. I love that.
Yeah, for sure. So now I believe it's the Lakers guy, Lawrence Tanner, who's the longest tenured guy in the league right now. And he's been doing it for a very long time. Now the Heat one going, you know, as well, most likely. But that is it for the play-in tournament preview. Again, the another look at the schedule here. Tonight, the first game is the Heat Hornets, 7:30 on Prime Video. Then the nightcap is the 7-8 game in the West with Portland at Phoenix. And then on Wednesday, it starts out with Orlando at Philadelphia, the 7-8 game in the East. And then it's capped off at 10 p.m. with the Warriors and the Clippers. We've waited a long time, guys, to get to this point this regular season, but we are finally here in the postseason. And my goodness, I cannot wait for all these games. Make sure to stay tuned for all the Run in the Paint recaps, which are coming back tomorrow. So stay tuned as we break down all these matchups and all these games.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Also, I got one more thing. Did we mention of the coaching change today? Did we mention the Bucks and Doc Rivers officially parted ways?
No, we didn't, but I feel like I will say we talked about the Bucks a lot during the GFF award presentation, and I did. I wasn't for sure, but I don't remember what episode I said where Doc Rivers, enjoy your last week as head coach. That's exactly what Do you guys think, though? I mean, of course, the Bucks. I mean, we know the situation that they're in, but for Doc Rivers, do you think that it was his final coaching job? Do you think that he'll be done after this?
Should be. He should be done. He's been riding that for that one ring with the Celtics back in the day forever now, and you know what? It's time to hang it up and just ride that into the sunset, my boy.
Yeah, Ben, you think so?
Yeah, I think that too. And just the rumors out there, maybe he'll take an advising role in the Bucks office, or maybe he'll just go elsewhere. Be interesting to see on that, but I think it's all right for the Bucks that he won't be like the head coach anymore. Find someone younger, brings a good young energy there potentially.
Yeah, for sure. Part of me, I wish that Doc Rivers would return to the broadcasting booth because I liked it. I like him broadcasting. It's also why it was kind of sad that Michael Malone went to take a coaching job because I really liked him as well. But I want to see more coaches back in that role because we don't really have any right now.
I'm 100% with you. One of my favorite coaches that I always loved listening to the booth was Doug Collins. Doug Collins is one of my faves to listen to the booth. Same with Mike Malone, Doc Rivers. It's always fun. Mike Fratello, love listening to the coach's perspective.
Yeah, and I know it's a hit or miss guy, but I loved Jeff Van Gundy. Of course, Mark Jackson's a legend. Joey doesn't like Jeff. It's like the only one that we have in the league still right now, at least calling games, is Stan Van Gundy.
Yeah.
I believe.
I could be without that too. I don't want to see on my TV.
No, Van Gundy, I need to see them in the booth calling the same game because whenever one's been in the booth, the other's been a coach. We need both in the booth.
That would be
Yeah,
absolute
we
chaos.
do. Yeah.
Yes, it would. But that is it here for this play-in preview. Again, stay tuned for the Run in the Paint recaps. Enjoy all the games tonight. The next full podcast on Friday, we will get into all of the first-round matchups, predict them, dive into, all the matchups there. Cannot wait to get into some of them because we didn't even mention, some of the crazy matchups that we have with the Knicks, Hawks, Wolves, Nuggets, the Lakers, Rockets, and the Cavs, Raptors. So a lot to talk about. So stay tuned. But that is it. You guys have anything else before we get out of here?
I don't think so.
All right, well, enjoy the play-in tournament, guys. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA postseason content. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.